Yes. Yes. We made it. We made it to the other end. It's all, the intro and everything else. It's all just to maximize things. It's all about the grift. It all is. So I'll tell you guys about that today because, well, I'll tell you about the grift and we'll talk about Tim Pool and have it not be a grift because we're not sure exactly how to do that the appropriate way. But I will talk about what Tim Pool said today. I could explain why we do the intro, why we do the things we do. I have to maximize as many people tuned in while I'm speaking as possible because people who are tuned in while I'm speaking live are more likely to support the grift, the buy me a coffee. People do it while they're watching live, but they won't do it after the show's over. They'll do it while you're live, but not while the show's over, or not if you do a pre-recorded video. So in order to change the content that you watch, you have to change your behavior and demand the kind of content that you really want. Say, I will, if you promise not to run that intro anymore, I'll get you that coffee. It's frustrating being a content creator for like a billion reasons. Tim Pool is very frustrated right now. So people have gotten to him. It's even frustrating, even though I was saying how great it must be to be Tim Pool. He's still complaining. In fact, it sounds terrible. Like I sympathize with him. Everybody's making videos about him, all that stuff. There are advantages to not being famous. There are big advantages that people just don't consider when they're trying to be famous. They don't consider the disadvantages, like what happens once you get there. And people start talking shit about you. And that's annoying for most people. Most people find it annoying. So Tim Pool finds it annoying. I found it annoying when it happened to me. I am blessed that not that many people watch the show. So when I say stuff that would be really controversial, I don't have to hear about it too much. It's not, there are downsides to not having 1 million subscribers and not be getting the most super chats of anybody on YouTube. There are downsides to that, like major, major downsides. So it's this balance of life that we have to figure out. Like, what do you want? Do you want to be a YouTube content creator? Is that what you want? And why? Like, what do you get out of it? We have to ask ourselves with anything, like, why am I doing this? So you guys have to tell me. People tell me, they're like, oh, I like this show. Well, like, you should keep doing it. So I thought, okay, fair enough. Because it's not like, otherwise you just show up every night, It's confusing. Anyway, I'm going to talk about what's going on I'll read you the article that came out about Project Veritas. And I have something controversial. I think I have a controversial opinion about the Pfizer sting that was set up by Project Veritas. And that might be the reason he's getting fired. Or, yeah, part of the reason. But the other part of the reason is apparently he's a jerk. So what does that mean? Or is it just a smear, or maybe he really is? Is James O'Keefe actually a jerk? And is that okay? because he made good undercover videos? Should they work with him anyway, even though apparently he's a jerk? Because the knee jerk reaction is, oh my God, like they're going after James O'Keefe. That's wrong. James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. James O'Keefe is James O'Keefe. Like, he's got to be in the right. That's the knee-jerk reaction, the one to get quick social media response and so forth. But then if you read about the article about what they say about him, that's like, what would you do? So we'll read you the story. You guys can decide. We have our heterodox point of view on this show. All that, and then I'll play you what Tim Pool said about the people who've been talking shit about him. And I will say, the Eliza Blue situation, I didn't grift off of it. I just didn't grift off of it very well, personally. Like, when I talked about it, I got some followers on Twitter by talking about the Eliza Blue situation because I hosted some spaces and a lot of people were interested in the topic. I didn't get any followers on YouTube talking about it. I didn't have any viral content about Eliza Blue. I made a video, talked about it a little bit, talked about Tim Pool the other day. Didn't get any special visibility or anything, even though apparently people are very interested. So I didn't run the grift appropriately, but people did. People are big time. People making content left and right about Eliza Blue and Tim Pool and having big view counts and lots of people watching their channels. And some people have become more prominent just talking about this topic. It started with Eliza Blue, and now it's moved on to Tim Pool. Video, views. It's like a cow, right? People found this cow that gives views and social media attention, and they're milking it every day. So I'm going to milk it a little bit. I'm just going to talk about it because I'm interested. And then I'll be like Tim Pool. I'm going to say, I don't care. I just want to do what's right. I don't care about money. I don't care about you. I don't want to be famous. That's what Tim Pool said. So a lot of ways I respect what he said. He says, you guys can suck it. That's what he says, which is a great attitude, I think. He says, you can suck it. If you don't like it, fuck off. Seriously, you don't want to subscribe? Don't. See what I like. Who cares? Fuck you. That's what Tim Pool says, which I deeply respect. So even though I don't like him, I do respect him. And I would still, yes, I accepted an invitation to be on his show. Sure. Because I would talk to him about certain stuff, you know. I would just want to bring up Building 7 or something. Like, why aren't we talking about that? But he had on Luke Rudowski and stuff. Luke's legit. I don't know how they stay away from certain topics, but he obviously just doesn't like certain things or certain people. And now he like really doesn't like drama YouTube channels, so he should like this channel because this channel doesn't do much drama, even though sometimes we're critical of things. So I'm trying to follow the Tim Pool model, only give you actually important news. So I'm going to give you the news on Project Veritas, the news about the Pfizer thing, and then I'll play you a clip of Tim Pool talking about what's going on with him. He might quit. He could. Don't know. It's harder than you think. He gets swatted all the time. Somebody asked a question on Twitter that was like, if it was like if you could be 2 out of 3 things. It was like if you could be 2 out of 3 things, what would it be? Famous, rich, and something else. And I was like, why would you want to be famous? Being famous sucks, as far as I can tell. But some people really do want to. And then you get in a situation where being famous is important for you to be successful or rich or what have you. Very complicated. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news. Yes, and I have a grift. You can give super chats to the show. Those are considered a sacrifice to the YouTube gods, which might make them want to promote the content. But you can also go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil and drop a coffee or more there, or become a member, because that's what we YouTube grifters need the most. And just let me know if I need to do something, if there's something I can contribute, if there's more that I can do for memberships and so forth, let me know. Because it is like super important for people to be members, for online content creators and stuff, subscribers, just like the newspaper has. So that's that guaranteed, stuff coming in. Otherwise, it's like a song and dance, and then otherwise you get in weird situations where it's like, oh, I'll perform for you if you tip me. If you tip me. I got Defango to do that the other day. I got him $100 super chat because I said he would dance for it, and he did. He did. Once, I can't remember what happened. I think somebody offered me money to do something, and I got really mad at them. I think I got offended when somebody told me to do something for money. But I could. That's what it becomes. I'll show you how this story broke with James O'Keefe. And I can let me put this in the chat. This person on Twitter broke the news, and I wasn't sure if it was true or not. James O'Keefe is still listed with Project Veritas on his Twitter bio. I felt kind of screwed over by this story that they did a little bit. The story about the Pfizer gain of function situation. And I ended up deleting my video. I was worried it would get a strike. So I made a video just because Project Veritas had announced in advance they were doing this Pfizer expose that was coming out, and it was dropping at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And my show starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I ran with the title Pfizer Exposed. And then I played their video. And I said, wow, that's amazing. And that's it. And then the show was over. And then the next day, I saw the follow-up video, which they had already recorded. where they confronted the guy and he said he made up the story about the gain of function, right? So I thought, and when I saw it, so this is the problem because I'm a conspiracy theorist, but also I can be a debunker sometimes. Sometimes I don't think things are legit. I end up on the wrong side of certain issues. Like this particular thing, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it's true based on what I've seen. I don't believe it. I don't think Pfizer is doing gain of function research based on what I've seen. And I'm a conspiracy theorist that thinks Pfizer's doing crazy stuff, but I just don't think they are. When I heard the guy say he made it up, I thought, oh, that's weird. Like, why would you make something like that up? That's kind of crazy. But I knew people, it is what the person wanted to hear. So in a way, it was astute of them to make up something that is exactly what the person wanted to hear, which was that Pfizer was doing some crazy shit with viruses. And also, I just don't believe, like, the other thing about it is, does Pfizer really care about whether their vaccine works? I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of like they're saying, oh, Pfizer really cares that their vaccine works so much that they'll make a virus so that their vaccine will work better. That's the theory that the guy had, right? So like the theory that he said Pfizer was doing was they're modifying the virus so that they can make a vaccine for it. So, which assumes that they care, that they actually want to make a vaccine that works. And so they'll actually make a virus out of it. When they have a vaccine right now that doesn't stop transmission, and the latest version really isn't getting good reviews. The latest version gets really bad reviews from some mainstream people. I don't know how much I can say. Obviously, like the WHO, local health authorities say the COVID vaccines are safe and effective, yada, yada, yada. But some people, including mainstream doctors, are talking about this latest booster, which nobody is getting. So forgive me for being controversial. The latest shot, a lot of people say it's not that it doesn't do that well, even against the current variants. So did Pfizer really care? So anyway, that's my thoughts. I was like, there's not enough there. It's and as a matter of fact, I might have said they fucked up running the story. Let's see. So I don't know for sure if I would have run it. It was like, it's not fake news. The guy said it, but the circumstances under which the information was recorded could lead to somebody not telling the truth, theoretically. So it's theoretically possible that the guy was making it up to impress somebody. And when he denied it on camera and said that he made it up, and then Pfizer denied it too, then it's no longer a story at all, in my opinion. It's not it's not a story. Pfizer, as far as anybody knows, they're not doing gain of function research. There's no evidence, as far as I'm concerned. The guy came out and then he said he made it up. So who knows? Like, O'Keefe has presented no corroborating evidence that Pfizer is doing gain of function research. Maybe, but so was it a bad, considering that it might leave them open to certain kinds of legal liability and stuff? I could see them maybe being pissed off about the story, but apparently that's not the only thing with James O'Keefe. But those are, yeah, I know it's controversial. I know it's always like you want the Pfizer to have been caught, and I've always believed in James O'Keefe's work before most of the other exposés, but not always. And this one, yeah, I don't know if it was. God damn it! Damn it. I have to figure out how to. Okay, I'm just going to close Google Voice because I can't figure out how to turn off my phone. Do you think somebody was really trying to call me to be on the show already? I don't even have to post the number. So those are my thoughts on it. And then, so somebody said today, which may or may not be related to the Pfizer story, and maybe the Pfizer story is true. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But this one person said he got inside information, and then it ended up in the mainstream news. I'll show you the mainstream news. This person, Swig, at Old Rose Swig on Twitter, said a whistleblower contacted me about news that James O'Keefe was put on leave and stripped of all authority at Project Veritas. This is difficult for me to publish. And he says what is happening to James O'Keefe is unconscionable. The attempted takeover of Project Veritas needs to be stood against by its supporters. According to my source, the situation has allowed two alleged ringleaders of this attempt to push James out to have significant sway over the others, despite their reasons to be essentially meritless. And then it says who's involved. Let me show you the article. And then Project Veritas released a statement. And there's an article out from The Intelligencer from New York Magazine that says James O'Keefe is on paid leave. Show you that. James O'Keefe is on paid leave from Project Veritas. So he apparently has been placed on a suspension, and he won't comment for the article, for this article. And hasn't said anything on Twitter. James O'Keefe, the founder and chairman of Project Veritas, has taken a paid leave from the conservative nonprofit media organization as its board considers whether to remove him from his leadership position, according to current and former employees of the organization. An internal message sent to Project Veritas employees by the organization's executive director, Daniel Strack, said that O'Keefe would be taking a few weeks of well-deserved PTO. Strack later released a statement on behalf of the organization, said, quote, like all newsrooms at this stage, the Project Veritas board of directors and management are constantly evaluating what the best path forward is for the organization. There are 65 plus employees at Project Veritas dedicated to continuing the mission to expose corruption, dishonesty, waste, fraud, and other misconduct in both public and private institutions. To our supporters, we hear you, we care about you, and we will never give up. I guess that's people who are upset that James O'Keefe is being gotten rid of. So let's see. He fired 2 executives that have now been reinstated. So apparently he fired 2 people. I'll read more of this article. O'Keefe is his organization's guiding ideological force and on-screen face, but his status as its day-to-day manager has become uncertain amid reports of internal turmoil, lawsuits from former employees, leaks about its internal workings, and a federal investigation into its conduct in purchasing a diary stolen from Ashley Biden. Strack's internal message to employees made reference to what he called a distracting time and said that a board meeting had been held to discuss the health of the organization, and that while we have not yet come up with final solutions, we have made a few immediate decisions. They said 2 top Project Veritas executives, including the chief financial officer, were reinstated, after recently having been fired by O'Keefe. There's going to be a meeting of the board scheduled for Friday. What is today? Thursday? So tomorrow, where they're going to figure out whether O'Keefe is going to be removed, according to one source familiar with the matter. The source said that Project Veritas was currently divided between a group of employees who are perceived to be loyal to O'Keefe, including his communications advisor, R.C. Maxwell, and the board, which has been dissatisfied with what it perceives as O'Keefe's mismanagement. Matthew Termand, a conservative journalist who serves on Project Veritas's board, said he was about to walk into a meeting and could not talk when reached on his phone. Okay. As rumors, hold on, I'm going to skip ahead. Oh, they mention how he taunted a New York Times reporter, calling him Fed boy and punk. That was Goldman. So that might have been something that people thought was a little over the top. Even as O'Keefe continued his confrontational act, long-standing infighting at the Project Veritas headquarters in Mamaroneck was coming to a head. Over the dozen years since he founded the nonprofit in a carriage house behind his parents' home in suburban Westwood, New Jersey, the group has grown from a shoestring YouTube prank operation into a large, ideologically driven news organization with an annual operating budget of more than $20 million. But former employees describe O'Keefe as an erratic and often angry boss. According to a letter dated February 6, which was circulated by Project Veritas staff who were critical of O'Keefe's management, he berated and fired the organization's CFO, Tom O'Hara, and its chief strategy officer, Barry Hinckley. Hinckley later wrote a message to the staff saying that he stood up to a bully and had lost his job as a result. The letter included an 11-page list of testimonials from anonymous current employees describing O'Keefe, in the words of one, as a power-drunk tyrant. Even many of O'Keefe's enemies wondered, however, if his organization could survive without him as its leader. Quite frankly, he's the company, one former employee said. So, what do you guys think? Is it a left-wing coup? Is it what's up with charismatic leaders sometimes being jerk-offs? Didn't they say they say the guy that ran Apple was a real jerk? Steve Jobs. They said Steve Jobs was a jerk. He got fired once. So what is it with that? Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to it, but that's the story, is that they say O'Keefe is a jerk, fired some people that he maybe shouldn't have fired. Some employees think he's a jerk. Could they run the organization without him? I don't know. He does seem to be the driving force behind it. But yeah, that's the news. Everybody, Vagabond Life said, who hasn't worked for a jerk before? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. Sometimes people that run organizations are jerks. And sometimes they make good content still. In this case, in the case of the Pfizer thing, I think it was, I don't know if that one was their winningest ever. But anyway, that's the story with James O'Keefe. I don't know if he's going to be fired for sure or not. Now we can get into the Eliza Blue, Tim Pool situation. I'll just play what Tim Pool said because it's interesting to me. Not to create drama. I didn't put his name in the title or anything. I didn't have much to gain from talking about it. I'm interested because it is Tim Pool. And I'm interested because I was following this story. You know, it's like Tim Pool didn't cover censorship on Twitter, and people got upset. It also had to do with calling out Eliza Blue as a grifter, which people felt was really important, which isn't as important. He did completely whiff. Like, he's not taking any personal responsibility for why people are talking about him, and just assumes that people are talking about him because they're bad people. And some of them are, like left-wing people will just use him as content. And that's, he equates what people on the left do to him to what these other people like the Quartering, Brittany Venti, Chrissy Mayer, Fair and Balanced. I don't think he mentioned Fair and Balanced, but Chrissy Mayer he mentioned a bunch of people by name. The Quartering, mostly Jeremy, who did make a bunch of content about Tim Pool. But people were genuinely upset with Tim Pool, and Tim Pool, he's not taking any accountability for his side of things. But at the same time, I get it. It sucks for when people make content about you, and maybe and people do it to get clicks. So, like, to be fair, if I was doing what I see everybody else doing, I look at my notifications. My notifications on Twitter, it's all about Eliza Blue. So I'm not talking about it out of respect to the people who kind of normally listen to my show and don't care about internet drama that much. I haven't been talking about it that much, really. Like, even if you think I've been talking about it too much, no. There are people making it exclusively, including like the person I just had on my show. He's just dropping new videos, you know, one after the other about this situation and you know, getting views from it. I've been going down that line. Exactly. I'm talking about the things that are interesting about it. I'm interested in the topic. So I've talked about it in as much as I am interested, but I haven't pursued the clicking fame, even though I probably should, even though like I'm not good at what I do. I'm not good at pursuing clicks, even though I'd love to be. I didn't even give you guys a clickbait title today. But some people are. So it's fair for Tim Pool to say that. Some people are. And I don't know. But he's impugning, he's saying that they're bad people. Tim Pool is saying. I'm not saying they're bad people. For sure. It's an interesting topic. A lot of people talk about drama because they have nothing else to talk about. It's so hard to come up with content every day. I mean, it really is. To know, you know, for what you're going to talk about, or to have guests, whatever it is, whether it's guests or content, it's hard. It's a challenge. And so what are you going to talk about? Well, you talk about things that you're interested in and that are trending and that people want to hear about. And see, that's where it's a symbiotic relationship between the grifter and their audience, because Tim Pool wants to say it's a PR campaign that's bots. It's not, though. That's not what's driving actual view count and interest and engagement on the story. It's that people are genuinely interested. So that's where Tim Pool is like not in touch with reality, because he doesn't understand actually what made the story interesting in the first place, which was the censorship and this person that, you know, human trafficking, someone claiming to be a survivor of human trafficking who maybe isn't, right? Which is very interesting to a certain segment of people as well. I'm aware of that. So you would think that he would be aware, he should be aware of that. He's not. And he thinks it's a PR campaign, which is really weird. But people are making content about him. I'll play you what he says and how he says, like, he might quit. I'll play some of this clip from this latest video. He made a special, in addition to his regular show, he made a 48-minute video addressing the quartering and all the drama. Basically, specifically made a video to address this whole situation because he felt strongly enough about it. So let me see if I can get to
talk about family.
I think at about 23:30. I might have to put it on 1 1/4 speed. I won't put it at 1 1/2. You can hear what he said about it. Basically that these people are bad people. All right, let me see if I got my volume settings and everything right. Let's see.
I'll tell you about some personal stuff in my life and why I'm so ready to be at this point. And the level of obsession with me that I have to deal with it's not worth it. It's not at all. And that's why I say I empathize with Joe Rogan. Like, man, like even I talk about Joe Rogan. I did a segment about him because he's in the news. And I think about it like, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I just literally shouldn't talk about stuff like this. And we've done a lot of segments about Joe. As I've tried to explain, it's like, well, he's the biggest podcast in the world and we're all in this space. So when they come after him, when they criticize him, we talk about that. We either provide defense or some context. Sure. You know, what I've been dealing with over the past year is we've been swatted 15 times. We get bomb threats. We've had the studio evacuated. I've had people threaten my life. And then, I have to deal with the likes of Jeremy Hambley making videos saying, assassination attempt on Tim Pool, just like extreme hyperbole and stuff like that, shock bait, garbage content. And I'm just like, I really don't want to be involved in this. I really don't want to be here. Let me explain to you why. Imagine you have someone show up to your house and they break in and you can't actually do anything about it. There's no calling the police. You can't. And the police can do something, but then they attack you. They use whatever leverage they can against you, and they make up fake lies in the media to try and destroy your life. So what do? How do you deal with stalkers? How do you deal with harassment? How do you deal with obsessed people? How do you deal with people who used to be your friends who make up lies about you all the time? And I'm not talking about Jeremy. I don't consider this guy to have ever been my friend. He makes videos about me where he insults me and then acts like he was my friend the whole time. And we were friendly and cordial, but seriously, this guy would he sends me a veiled threat. He posts smack talk about me. He insults me and mocks me, and then he expects me to be his friend. No, I'm not interested in any of this. I'm not interested in being a leader to you. I'm not interested in being a leader to anybody. I'm not interested in being in Congress, being in politics. I'm barely interested in running a company. What I am is somebody who sees problems and tries to talk.
You hear that? He's pretty close to quitting. He mentions that he tried to quit before. This is where I do respect him for saying that, because I believe it. It must be getting annoying. He has a lot of people contact him all the time. People want things from him. People expect things of him. How annoying is that? That must be very annoying when people are like, oh, you have to talk about this. So I respect where he's coming from. Like, I get it. I don't, like I said, I think he's missing the part of it where he plays a role, because I've been attacked by like everybody on the internet before, all at the same time, right? Because everybody hated me. And I can look at it two different ways and think all these people are terrible people, but I did play a role in it. There was something I did. So, and it's good to take some accountability for that. So if I was going to say something, it's just, fair enough. Jeremy is making a lot of videos about him. But then again, people are talking about him. It is good. So it's up to Tim Pool how he deals with it. You know, it's good people are talking about him. It means he's famous. He's extra famous now. I really, really don't. I think this has harmed his reputation. I mean, I do think he suffered reputational harm. And so it must hurt his feelings because he's hearing it from people. People are telling him, oh, you're this, you're that. And people, and I tuned into a Twitter Spaces today. People are bitching about Tim Pool and stuff. People are bitching about him. So I can imagine. Anyway, I can imagine where he's coming from with the whole thing. But he played a role. He missed a huge story that was like really obvious. That wasn't that hard to address, which was censorship on Twitter, inappropriate censorship. Everybody wants to know that he's going to be fair, that because he was really hard. One of the coolest things Tim Pool ever did was when he went on Joe Rogan and challenged the Twitter people. That's what he's known for, right? So he's known like this is it was exactly in his lane, this news story, because he's the one who challenged Twitter before about censoring people inappropriately. So now there's inappropriate censorship, which he doesn't even recognize, which maybe people are blowing it out of proportion. It's true. Like the censorship, the fact that a few people were censored on Twitter, people aren't being censored anymore. I don't think, although Brittany Venti is still in jail just because she won't delete the tweet. But if she deleted it, she could be back. And they haven't been censoring much more Eliza Blue content. So as far as everybody freaking out that that Twitter was going to be arbitrary and ban people, and that it was just the same, that new Twitter is the same as old Twitter, I don't think that's true. This person did get some stuff censored by playing the rules somehow declaring a video that everybody thinks was consensual to be non-consensual somehow. But is it an indication that it's going to be rampant and that there are going to be a lot more instances of this? Maybe not. So, but he did miss the story. But you can see the things Jeremy has been saying about him. Tim Pool attacks his fans. Tim has a problem with that. Tim Pool attacks his fans. He did kind of call his fans bots. But Tim Pool has a problem with that. Says he didn't attack his fans. Says he's lying about him. I don't think the quartering has bad intentions toward Tim Pool. So Tim Pool's kind of taking it hard. I'll play more.
Talk about him. And is far from perfect and tries to be as honest as possible. As times change and new information comes in, my opinions probably do as well. I don't like hiding information from people. I think people should just know what's going on. And if the end result of all of this and all of the drama is that I just walk away and say, I never wanted to be in this position, I'd be happier for it. The challenge is, and the reality is, there are millions of people who do follow me and who do ask me to keep doing this. I tried quitting this job outright in, I think it was 2019. You can look up the video where I outright said, that's it, I'm done, things have to change. And I got slammed with so many emails, so many messages. They said, please don't stop. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll keep going. I had a few 100,000 followers at the time, I think. And I was just like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I'll explain to you, man. I hope you understand. Some things you need to understand when it comes to a job like this. Every day I see the likes of AOC, Sam Cedar, the Young Turks, Jeremy Hambley, making up weird grifter garbage nonsense to try and attract new fans. And I'm just like, I don't care. I'm hoping that we can talk about egg shortages, and stuff like that, or the potential for cyber attacks, or as I often do, the prospect of civil war. In doing this job, my phone lights up nonstop People are asking me for money. People are asking me for jobs. My email won't stop ringing. I get 500 to 1,000 emails per day that I have to just throw in the garbage. I get people saying things like, I need this from you. I want this from you. Why won't you have me on your show? I get people making up lies about why I couldn't have them on my show. I get people like Jeremy Hambley getting booked for my show, and then instead of coming on my show, he goes on some other show and then insults me. Then he goes on his platform and attacks me and tells everybody that I insulted them, called them bots, and it's just not true. So why would I want to be involved in a world like this? I'll still keep doing what I do because I enjoy doing it, and that's the only reason I do it. But I'll tell you, to have people who were once some of my best friends, this is what you get in this space. A friend of mine from when I was a teenager, I used to skate with every day, decides one day that his path towards acknowledgement is to make up lies about me because we'd been friends, and that's his claim to fame. That happens more than you can realize. They come out and they say, one time Tim Pool did this thing, and they're like, well, that's Tim Pool's friend. That must prove it. And I'm like, why are you lying about me, bro? This stuff happens all the time. I had one former friend go into my Discord server, screen grab and download the entire archives, and then cherry pick me quoting other articles to lie about me in public.
Anyway, it's a sob story. It's a sob story. It's difficult. It's a difficult position to be in for Tim Pool. He said one of the things he says, I won't play anymore. That's enough. Somebody goes, this is terrible content. So yeah, but this is what people talk about on the internet. This is what people talk about, even if it is terrible content. No, and I'm genuinely, I'm interested in other content creators who have made themselves successful, especially in the level that Tim Pool is. But it's a fucked up world. You have a few people at the top, we have this weird pyramid thing. Like, I could do more work. I could take some stuff off his plate, He has people, he does on his website, he has like a minor league of people that do a show, but it's not that great. So he's trying to bring up, it'd be interesting to see if he could bring up any real talent through his show, create other stars, for example, the way Jon Stewart used to do. Remember, Jon Stewart would have people on his show and then they would turn into stars. That's a sign of somebody who's like very generous, and who has an eye for talent. So we'll see what Tim Pool is able to do. But that's one thing you'd want to do, right? Once you get successful, is to help other people out who other people don't recognize. That's why I talk to people who are different a lot. Sometimes I have guests on my show that are kind of not mainstream because that's who I can get, but that's who I'm interested in. Interested in people who are more outside of the mainstream. But then I like to talk to mainstream people too. And in order to talk to people, you have to be famous first in order to book the right kind of guests. That's the thing. Once you get there, you can book the guests. That's what Tim Pool has going for him right now in his position, is he can book whoever he wants. And then he just has to do his news show and stuff. But he has to deal with people criticizing him sometimes. Okay, we'll see if anybody dropped me any coffees. And then I can open the phone. I just have to figure out the way the interface is working right now. Okay, I think Parody Bear bought 3 coffees. I think this is new. So I got 3 coffees. Okay. Parody Bear got 3 coffees. It says, here's my theory. DeFango questions Globe Earth. This man knows how to find things within about a week. His mind is broken, and maybe we get some epic gifting. By the way, he just went live. I don't know exactly what that means. Has to do with Griftcast IRL. Thanks, Parody Bear, for the 3 coffees. That's it for the coffees. If somebody else would like to donate, Like I said, people really only do it while the show is live. You can do it anytime. So if you join as a member at buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil, and then you email me, I send you a code for a free t-shirt. Check out our t-shirts. I'll promote that too, especially if people aren't buying coffees. I'll take phone calls, but I will have to get to take phone calls. I will have to get a few coffees. So I'm trying to make this thing work. I'd love to be able to say fuck it, but I can't do that. I have to figure out how to get more people tuned in all the time and not grift at the same, and still stay true to doing the real show. It's tough. I can't figure out what happened to the phone system. It won't let me block calls anymore. I'll take phone calls, even though I'm not feeling great. You can still donate to the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. You can buy t-shirts at truthclothing.io. If you have ideas for how to make this show, how to make this show a successful YouTube show, you can send those to me. Fuck it. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. I'll see you guys at the next one. We'll do a show. The show is regularly at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll try to be back tomorrow night, even though it's Friday. Well, anyway, I'll be back. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a good one. That's what it is.